everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Babe. I'm here with the one and only Tierney Finster, notable Babe co-host of Your Back, live in the studio.
Back again.
A Valley girl.
Yes, first Babe in the Valley, first pod in the Valley.
This feels important.
Well, whenever you told me, even if it was like actually just one or two people, whenever you would say that Babe or sup listeners asked about me or made positive comments about me, I held on to those very tightly over the years. So I'm very happy to be back.
People have requested you be back on the pod.
Like thousands of people. Right?
Thousands. That's like the inbox overfloweth with
the same
requests.
person every day.
Mm-hmm.
No, who was it? I think because I was listening to your most recent episode this morning a little bit, and he was saying he gets recognized or like brought up people listening to Babe, and I've definitely, it's not like all the time, but it is the most random situations just in the Bay Area, even eating like spicy South Asian street food on the street, like sucking on a skewer and someone being like, love you on Babe, love you on sup.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. I was walking because I was hanging with Graydon last week after the recording and I was on the east side, like in Highland Park almost, like very far east, Eagle Rock even.
Mm-hmm. You don't go over there, yeah.
I rarely find myself on that part of town, but I do more and more these days, and was getting recognized like left and right, and I was like, I've got to get
moving
to
over
this
here.
Other neighborhood where people really appreciate me. They see my value in these parts of the world.
No, that's real.
Yeah.
No, it's
not making a splash in West Hollywood these days. They've got other things on their mind.
Yeah, I feel like you have been a stronghold in the community in West Hollywood, but it's changed just like everywhere.
It's very different now.
I don't see you like strutting down Santa Monica and just bopping around.
I don't
with
relate
your peers over there.
The WeHo grind
experience.
Anymore. Yeah, the WeHo experience has changed a lot. It's like even the like fitness studio scene is a different beast now. One that I don't relate to as much.
I used to love hearing about your...
I know. There was just such a moment where I knew the best instructors at every fitness studio within like a 1.5 mile radius. And now I just don't have that literacy anymore.
At least you still live near Kofax and can get a great breakfast burrito.
And even the cast members of Vanderpump Rules have all moved to your neck of the woods.
It's true. I mean, I've never have seen any of them in the Valley, though.
You haven't seen a single one?
Not in the Valley, no. I mean, there's merits to that in terms of, where I go, what I do.
Yeah, actually, I'd be worried if you were like running into them.
I'm like, well, Janet said, and then later going to Jasmine's, but when I was at Kristen's.
Dining at Jax's, like they do crazy happy hour.
I'm addicted to the beer cheese. I was getting defensive hearing another podcaster describe the beer cheese and get mad that it was like cold, like it wasn't like a hot queso dip.
Yeah, that's a totally different beast.
We see a beer cheese in the deli case at a market. It's like rolled in that. I don't even know what gives it that texture.
Beer cheese? I think the one that's rolled in nuts. That's kind of like a holiday thing. Yeah, but beer cheese to me is like in the same plastic container as like hummus.
Oh, like pub cheese.
Pub cheese. Yeah.
It's not my fave, but
no, but I
know it's not hot and melty.
No, that's queso.
Yeah,
that's Tex-Mex.
That's queso.
Yeah.
Nachos. I mean, I know.
I need to get back on my nacho.
Yeah, you really made clear what constituted a good nacho at one point in time.
I know, and I think the battle could be fought yet again. Nachos have fallen out of like the discourse, and are no longer like the meaningful dish they once were.
No, well, Fred 62 used to have the individual chip nachos, but that's somewhere that I have like such romantic like past associations to that diner, but
I don't even know if it exists anymore.
I thought it didn't. I thought it closed, but it is open. I don't want to go there.
No.
Nachos are not.
No, I'm not trying to spend my precious time
No.
at Fred 62. I don't think I've seen nachos on a menu in ages.
It can go either way, where if it's really, runny nacho cheese, it can be very
That's also delicious.
soupy, though. Yeah, it
yeah.
is delicious. It's preferable to me in terms of the cheese option because of the shredded. I'm not a huge fan of like melted cheddar. Just gonna say, I don't even want cheddar on a burger.
Wow.
When I had COVID for the first time, that was my biggest realization. I didn't know I had COVID yet, but I got a burger that came with cheddar, never thought twice about it, and all this time. In fact, I'd probably think it was preferable to like an American cheese. I'm better than my childhood, But actually, a melted cheddar, it's just so like kind of nothing and rich, except maybe if it's mixed with tons of stuff like in mac and cheese.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the nachos, when it's just the melted cheddar on the chip, I don't want it.
No, it needs to be evenly dispersed
Yeah.
and then also have a lot of other ingredients at play. And then also I've had nachos with that kind of cheese and the soupy cheese.
Yeah.
And that's a good.
That's better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait, I want to go circle back to when you had COVID, you had cheddar realizations. Can we talk more about that?
I think it's because I was probably like not having an appetite in a way that I typically would, or I don't know, when things
not
are just
having
off.
a sense of smell.
Yeah,
Did you
that
have the
could be
COVID
it.
where you lost your sense of smell?
The first time, yeah,
Early.
I think I had it. It was like
In the first
2020
like,
or 2021. Yeah. It was at a hotel, even worse in terms of I didn't know the protocols, which is also like, I was so agoraphobic. I was shut in. I was beyond protocol. Like
You laid low.
yeah, because I was also looking to like transform the tempo and content of my life anyway. And it was like beginning my Saturn return. So I just really like rode that wave for a couple of years.
At the start of 2020, were you and Brian living together then?
Yes, which I am glad we already were, because then it wasn't like an emergency move.
Yeah, like a forced to move in together move.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember I saw you. I was at Freeze, the art fair, doing live podcasting.
Yes.
For like 4 days in a row, 60 guests, and glam every morning, and Paramount Backlot. And I was like, wow, this is like, what a sexy, fun, public facing year.
Glamour.
And then, basically didn't leave the house the rest of it.
Mhm.
But yeah, Brian and I had fun. I think it could go either way, right? People either like got divorced or got married. Sometimes I think we would have got married anyway. But it's funny to think about how that time is like an incubator for just like how you really spend your time in your life and how you do so together, and if it like works or not,
Yeah. What was it like to be in a relationship in COVID, changing all the like flow of your life and like the public facing nature, going more internal?
I'm a very like, let's get lost in self-reflection kind of person anyway, if I have the time.
You're a journaler.
Yes, I am like a student of life ass bitch. So I think also I probably am like, having some version of like ADHD, or, we're all learning a lot about neurodivergence on TikTok. And it's like,
You found out your side of the
I don't
spectrum.
know. I never got TikTok until like literally 3 months ago. So like there was a sense of relief. And I don't know if that's some sort of like actual masking. Like I'm not trying to appropriate like the language of neurodivergence in such a silly way without really knowing about it too much. But, just that idea of like always living in LA and what elements of life are like a persona that were rooted in real things, but what maybe aren't even serving you anymore, or like what has become outdated, or what would you do if you had all the time and space, to do it. And like, just for one, like nightlife was such a thing that, like, I think it's funny, like talking to you, looking in your eyes. I don't feel like I'm someone whose life is like defined by nightlife, but really for like 10 to 15 years, that was a huge part of.
Oh, that was like the basis on which we like met each other initially.
Yeah.
And when I thought about like, not necessarily, I won't go as far as like when I thought about LA nightlife, I thought about Tierney and her friends, but I feel like wherever there was interesting nightlife, you and your friends would also be in that place.
Yeah. I mean, thanks. Like, I like that.
No, and I loved that.
Yeah, it's fun. I wouldn't change any of it. And I also now, COVID was 5 years ago. So I'm definitely at a point where I see the value of the party and of nightlife and like social gathering again. And I see its like place in my life a lot more clearly again, because I think it's just so much. I was always doing so much. I would always have like so many jobs at once. I mean, talk about babe. It's just like, it was never enough to be like a senior editor at a magazine, or, doing a lot of freelance, like little modeling things, or doing, freelance casting for commercials or music videos or editorials, or like all these different types of work I would be doing. I needed to always be doing them all at the same time, while like promoting parties, DJing, and just going out to other people's parties all the time. And I guess that's just, what is that rooted in FOMO? I didn't.
We're just like youth and energy.
Yeah, I had so much energy, and I still can be that way, where I get so excited. And I like human design.
What are you in human design?
I'm a projector.
Me too.
I'm not surprised.
Okay.
Yeah. And so
that's why we have one of the many reasons why we vibe so well.
And I think like a lot of writers and people who are into communicating are projectors, but there's this idea that we need a lot of rest, which also is super true. Like, I wasn't living in like alignment with my body. I was probably like completely dissociated from my body for like most of my life, till I was probably like 27 or something.
What point did you break your leg?
I was going to say that's when I stopped being disassociated.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, I remember like that was kind of there was a before
shift.
And an after.
That was my
like
first COVID. Yeah, no, for sure. In terms of, wow, this is a moment where my life is like drastically changing in terms of the frequency and tempo with which it moves. And like, that was a little bit more alienating, even because it wasn't a collective experience. It was like, life is the same for a lot of friends and stuff. I was thinking about breaking my leg. Talk about babe. Indulge me. I actually saw you, I think, the night before I broke my leg.
Yeah, I think so.
I was playing music. I'll say that because DJing is really kind of overstating.
You were taking over the aux cord and playing a great array
bangers
of tunes. Yeah.
In the back room. I was giggling about how they would put stickers on your phone so you couldn't or they wouldn't if security would approach people to say, put your phone away, as if there was just like an onslaught of celebs in there. There was like none, or especially not yet,
Also, like, people, I feel like, weren't filming each other like they are now.
Yeah, I mean, my friends probably were, but
they're filming their own friends.
Not like not the panopticon. No, so I remember seeing tons of friends that night. And I remember one friend who I'd known for like 10 years even being like, you have great rhythm, actually. I'm like, actually? Wow, you've known me. We've been at 1 million parties together. Anyway, we all slept. Can I be really real? We all slept at Simon's house. This is so real. I don't know if we're going too real.
Wow, this is a throwback.
This is Mango's house.
This is like 10 years ago.
Yeah, and actually, Mango was with me when I broke my leg. So
get the fuck out.
Yeah, we were gonna go to the beach, and It was a couple friends. It was like maybe 2-3 friends. And I was downstairs at this old place with Mango. And I kind of ran after Mango, but it wasn't like Mango was running towards the street and I needed to. I was just in that, the post-party glory haze. And my hot pink Adidas mohair slide got stuck in the crevice of the sidewalk, or like the cement right there in the driveway, and it flung me in front of myself, and I came down like all my body on my one right like lower leg right below my knee area. And what was wild is I stayed down there this is like dissociation and also like not being able to ask for help, needing to be above humanity. Yeah. And thinking probably like, self-hatred or unworthiness.
Hear it happen?
It's so hard to think about. I think, honestly, I did hear it.
Or like feel it. Like
I felt it. I felt a crazy pop. And I had broken an ankle like 10 years before. Mm-hmm. But it felt so much worse. But when friends came down, because there was like an outdoor staircase to get up to the living space. And it had like 2 flights of stairs. So they weren't the, longest flights of stairs ever, but they were like 5 to 10 stairs each. So my legs broken, but I am downplaying everything. So when they want to lead me up, like lean on me and I'll help you up the stairs. I was like, okay, even though first of all, I'm sure that time, like weighing less than now, I'm sure I still weighed more than both of them like combined. So to lean on 2 people helping you up all these stairs, that's just
many
precarious anyway, let alone with the broken leg. But I let it all happen. I go on the couch, prop up my leg. I get the the iPad out. I open the DJ program. I start playing Lil Wayne. I am saying, go to the beach. Go to the beach. It's okay.
You're like, I'm going to ice it and I'm just going to rest for a little bit.
Mommy's okay. You have fun. Like, it was the worst thing in the world that a couple of my friends couldn't go to the beach that day. Like, we went every other day. And I was just... It was almost like I was waiting for someone to tell me this is super bad. Like, you can't, because I knew it wasn't like I was being delusional. I was just acting delusional. Mm-hmm. And I guess I eventually called my mom, probably knowing that was going to be the snap back to reality. Because as soon as she heard my voice, it was like, this is something so real.
Mm-hmm. So my baby's in trouble.
Yeah. And I ended up at the Mid-City Kaiser. I don't know, a Kaiser I hope I never go back to. I was so surprised because it was like a freak accident for it to break so bad based on what happened. That they gave me like all this anti-anxiety medicine paired with the pain meds. So like I basically didn't even remember the week before the surgery. And Michelle would come over and hang out with me. And like one night, she said that my mom had come, made tostadas, and I looked down at my plate and was like, you forgot the beans. But I wasn't being like, in real life, I would have been like, you forgot the beans. Like, what the hell is the matter with you, She said I was so heartbroken. I was basically crying. Like, it was so sad. But yeah, that was an inner journey. Pain meant pay attention inside now. Mm-hmm. And I really had to grapple with my self-worth as like a lovable person. And I was also being celibate anyway at that time, intentionally. And then breaking your leg like that is like a couple more months of that. And then the first Friday I went out in 2017, we were celebrating Michelle's first like big TV writing job, like the show premiering. Mm-hmm. And we're going to stop by like a dinner party after. And that's when I met Brian. So it's funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
You had to like basically go into the cocoon.
Yeah.
to come out the other side.
What was wild is that whole week or something before it happened, I was going to sleep every night listening to. This is actually so weird because we know we're in the studio and like Carey and I actually just met, but I was auditioning for Heathers, the TV show that week.
Oh my God.
And I was so excited because it was like fat villain, and the casting thing was in the Valley at the Sunkist building, which is a very amazing brutalist architectural space. I was like, this fun again. Oh, it's finally happening.
Hollywood dreams coming true.
Somehow. And then, yeah, I was really feeling like the air of change happening. And I was listening every single night to root chakra meditations because I was feeling like the burden of the past and certain home and family things were like going to get in my way of like creative expression or something.
Yeah. Or like grounding and like.
I needed to do that.
Yeah.
Yes. And to stop pursuing false grounding and stuff. But watch out what you listen to because I got grounded.
You manifested. You did.
The break. Yeah.
Okay, so for listeners who are like wondering about the Venn diagram, Tierney's friend used to date Simon 10 plus years ago before Carey. And Tierney and I knew each other before Simon and this person dated. And then I knew of Simon initially because you knew him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when Carey moved to LA, he and Simon got together.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, whoa, what a small world.
Yeah, it is. Because also you and I were already friends for years. So it wasn't like.
At least like 5 years before that happened.
I think if, God forbid, I needed help, I don't think I would be like, go to the beach, Lara.
No,
I'm
but
good
also,
here.
I understand like not wanting to be injured or be a burden to anyone else.
Yeah.
Like, and the feeling that it's really important to me to take care of myself and be like independent. And so the moment that someone else would have to do something like that, I feel really guilty and like shameful.
Yeah.
Like, and then would also rather be alone oftentimes, like if I'm sick or something like that, than be around another person. But then also you're like miserable that you're sick and you can't like live your life.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a weird spiral to go into.
It is. And I think it's also like at some point it can become almost diabolical, even though it's coming from like good intentions or just like subconscious trauma a lot of the time, where it's like you don't need to basically like manipulate in order to be liked. Like you can, I always found myself to be a very open, honest person. I really felt that's how I always experienced and expressed myself. But I think often I just did want to like make choices that would make other people feel comfortable, and kind of just spoke to that like subconscious child who just wanted to like be invited, included, nightlife, you know, on the motherfucking list.
Like you're just, this is also projectory too. It's like you wait for the invitation so that you can show up to things. And it's almost like if you can't be like your full self, or you're asking someone to come meet you somewhere or like help you, it's like, do they really want to do this, or are they just like feeling bad for me?
There's true.
Like maybe 2 or 3 friends and like my mom that I would feel comfortable with being like, I really need help with this. Like, can you help me?
Yeah. And it's interesting the way sometimes we'll be really good at receiving help in one area, but not another, you know? So it can just be, because I also feel like I'm someone who is spoiled, where I'm like,
you're a princess.
Yeah. And I'm a princess with Brian and my mom and probably my dad. I know my dad too. but also with Michelle and Nico and Will. And I feel like I have like a cohort of like non-sexual like I'm like polyamorous with soulmates, but not necessarily sexually, at least not right now. But and so in some ways I do feel like, wow, I have opened myself up to receiving a lot, but it's interesting because I am down to give, and I know you are too.
And you have like a community. What I always like admired about you is that you just have such a tight knit community of like day ones.
Yeah.
Of like the valley, like kids growing up in the valley together, and just everyone has something interesting going on, and everyone brings their own unique flair to the table, and they like, you roll deep with each other.
Yeah, that's like something I value so much because I feel like I think we're a lot happier than these women, but the White Lotus finale last night, how it was like, I don't know, Carey Coon having her moment of just like time and witnessing versions of self over time is just, that's God, and that's like the poem enough, beyond all the other layers of meaning and love. So it's just so cool to see. And I think especially, I think all those friends are very creative, like you said, and how everyone has like their different moments at different times where like people might get to have a lot of opportunity for certain types of like work or sharing different types of their expression like earlier on than others or later than others or concurrently, but like just being present for each other all along the way. And like when you really know someone, like my friend Kyle, it's like I really knew him as like a vintage sunglass collector at Taft High School, like 10 minutes from here. And now it's like he's already been doing his clothing line Own Boy for 10 years. And he asked me last year to write the introduction to this like beautifully bound, like hardcover, amazing catalog book of, documenting that decade. And those moments are so special because like, yeah, it is surreal that we're old enough that these things could have been happening for this long. But yeah, just to see the growth, like even something like that book, it's like teaching himself how to even make a book like that. I think that's what like keeps me super excited beyond my own like ideas in life, is just like, what am I going to get to experience from them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see yourself getting married by now?
No. I feel like a teen bride. I'm so happy though, like to be married. I mean, even your question you asked about being with someone during COVID.
It's the perfect test.
Yeah, and I was like, my answers are going to be super annoying because we were having a ball. I mean, we were blessed.
That's the best case scenario.
Yeah, we were blessed and privileged, and also just like, the type to like want to watch a movie together every day. Or, I mean, we're still like that even, but the time is an ingredient that makes certain things so special. And of course, I hope we don't have to like have an isolated period of life like that again. But yeah, it was super fun at the time. And yeah, being married, we got engaged like maybe 4 or 5 days after my 30th birthday, and we were on a trip. So that's why it was all together. But in my mind, or like to Michelle, I just would think it was so funny to be like, oh yeah, because I turned 30. Because I mean, that's just nothing. Like I didn't have that programming at all. My mom isn't girly. My mom is girly in terms of like, she loves fairy tales and Cinderella, and a Cinderella story starring Hilary Duff. But like, she's not ever gonna ask me, thinking about kids, or is he gonna pop the question? Like, is he the one? Like, what? Like, she would just never, like, my family's not like that. And also, I think, I'm still a gay girl. It's like having that kind of like freedom of a certain heteronormative script of life it wasn't something I was like prioritizing or expecting.
Yeah. That's kind of the irony in it for me as an outsider is like one of the least like trad people I know is having in some ways like a very trad experience.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I internally grappled with that a little bit too.
How, I guess, has your identity changed since like meeting Brian and like folding him into your life and folding your lives into like one life together?
Yeah.
Has that been easy? Or been difficult?
Well, it's been easier, else I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel.
But I mean, I guess difficulty in like an internal sense, or like when you say like you're grappling with something.
Yeah,
it's like,
no, for real.
What does this mean for me, Tierney? Like who I am in this world,
especially paired with that timing that we were talking about of like
30,
taking us, and 30, but also
30
like,
and being taken off the market
and coming out of like that was 2023 or. Yeah, like we got engaged the first week of 2023.
Okay.
So I basically like on that trip, I wasn't even about to go on that trip because we were there for 2 weeks in Oaxaca, Mexico, and we were returning somewhere we loved, and I was really looking forward to it, but I was just having the worst anxiety ever because I had still really not even been doing anything with anyone. So now I'm going to get on a plane and go be, it just felt so intense. So it was almost like it would have maybe been less drama for me internally if life hadn't changed so much in the external world way. But at the same time, I was feeling a lot of inner strength and fortitude emerging from my like spiritual cocoon, I feel like marrying a man, it really will remind me that I'm not straight. And it's not in terms of like who I'm going to have sex with it's more like the heteronormative culture is like actually even more pervasive than I knew. And I thought I was a scholar of it, not just as like a person in the world, but literally like writing and projects we would work on at magazines, men's magazines, sex, love, culture. I don't know. I did feel a lot of different, like conflicting feelings about how I'm being perceived. Like, okay, now I'm an old married white lady. The second two parts were always going to be inevitable, hopefully. Or like, but it was just like, he's not a basic ass person. He doesn't identify as like gay or queer or pansexual or any of the words I like, but he has that punk flavor and he's always had it. Even when he shows me like wrestlers or pop culture figures he loved when he was like 5 or 8 or 10, it's always like the most eccentric and kind of boundary pushing people. And I think like his personal and political ethos is super aligned with mine, and we couldn't be together otherwise. In some ways, it's also made me a better person in a lot of ways. It's not just about like, the optics of it. It's like I'm a lot more patient and compassionate and more real for sure. Like, I don't know. He's giving me lover's rock energy and
a grounding for like, again, like another way of like grounding.
He is a solid person. Like you don't want to test someone too much to like, but I feel like especially if you're going to be getting into any kind of relationship with anyone, but especially you're going to enter like a deep romantic partnership with a man, like a straight man, you're going to be sleuthing a bit for a long time because there's a lot of like small ways in which you're wondering if that's going to reveal itself to be some kind of like, I don't know, imposition on your values or something.
Or like, what's the catch? Like, when do I learn?
Oh my God.
When does the other shoe drop about like, oh, this person thinks XYZ,
Yes.
or like they like grew up with this mindset, or like,
yes.
Yeah.
No, he is a very thoughtful, like flexible, He's not, he has certain like cultural family traditions he loves, but he's not someone who needs to be defined by like his past or the way, he's seen certain things be done or something. And I don't want to make him out to be so perfect, but even in an energy healing before, I've had it come up as like me feeling like he's like the good one and I'm not the good one, because he is extremely patient and all these kind of like, I don't know, like I was raised to be like a diva bitch, and I didn't treat my friends that way. But like when you're in a romantic partnership, like, and I like it too because he has boundaries. Like he doesn't engage with me. I don't act up because there's not space for that, because he's so good in terms of like our communication and stuff. And I'm definitely more chatty, and he can be a lot more quiet, but our ability to communicate is always good and always growing. And like, I remember early on, and there was like that born and raised like Thanksgiving time kind of party. It's like an annual like streetwear gala in LA every November. And I think I'd gone in like a brown crushed velvet gown, makeup all done, feeling really cute. And I went to his house after, and I don't know, he was just like not giving me he did nothing like wrong, but it was just not I think probably because my makeup looked really good. I just wanted like an onslaught of like,
you want to be welcomed with like praise and adoration.
I needed it above and beyond. And I remember we were kind of like not disagreeing, but having some kind of tension. And instead of talking about it or stating how I felt, I tumbled out of bed, like dramatically, like essentially throwing myself on the floor in a tantrum. And then he was like, it was basically a done moment. Like, he was not, like, we didn't even spend Thanksgiving together after that, which, of course, that's not like the most romantic holiday. But I was crushed because it had already been almost a year. And so, yeah, he doesn't actually love tantrums or anything like that.
I feel like a year is like the point where, like, something crucial has to kind of get thrown down in a relationship to like test the waters in a certain way. Or be like, can this person see me the same way after I like act like this? Almost.
Yes.
Maybe subconsciously.
Yes.
But I feel like from what I hear of friends who are in relationships, it's always like kind of at the year point where it's like, it's a bit make or break time.
Even from a year to a year and a half, it was so fraught. Like, and the love and connection part didn't go away ever during that time. But it was just, like, we did, like, break up, I guess, after that. Yeah.
The
Thanksgiving tumble tantrum. And then I remember late on Christmas that year, we got together at night, and I think he said something like, loving or of course, like missing you or something. And like, not like once we were together. And I remember I said nothing. I found it very powerful. I'm like, we are just gonna hook up. Like, I say nothing. Then we hung out like right before Valentine's Day. I think we were just going to talk, what a lie. But I remember we were outside, and this woman was like, you two are the cutest couple. They were like, we're not. But I feel like when people are like, it's such a red flag if you break up and get back together, I'm like, I was scared out of my mind. Like, of course I'm going to throw myself out of the bed. I came into the relationship right when I started a new acting class that was all about, getting into the core of truth. And I remember having him meet me on Wilshire at Coffee Bean across from SAG and telling him, this was like 2 weeks after we met, I was like, I am literally paying to learn how to say how I really feel. So, if you're not here for that kind of journey and a bit like going to be able to do the same, then I don't want you around.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had that as an intention from the very beginning, and he was super agreeable and into it. But that doesn't mean I was actually ready or...
That doesn't mean that you're practicing what you preach.
No, but I had never... He'd been in long-term relationships before.
And you hadn't.
No.
No.
I think I married my first boyfriend. I mean, I definitely had like long-term lovers and really intense platonic relationships that taught me so much about what how to relate and be in relationship and how to like connect and be there for someone over over time. But I didn't want the people I hooked up with to know me.
No, and you don't, I think to be in a relationship for a long time romantically is like eventually, or even like platonically or friendship situation or like a coworker or like collaborator, is eventually you're going to have to say something you need or something that's bothering you to another person.
Yeah.
And that's really scary to do, especially if you're not used to vocalizing what your needs are, or if you've had experience having like saying what those needs are and having that get rejected or having it not go well. There's all these walls around there, or it becomes really difficult to say like, I need this, or like this really bothers me and I need it to be like different.
Yeah.
And part of like those rough periods are just learning how to say those things and understand that like the other person, if it's a good fit, will meet you there and like figure it out with you.
Yeah.
But it's hard to be like, because you're also, I think one of the reason that we vibe so well is like we're both very like independent women.
INDEP.
Yeah. And just like strong-willed.
Yeah.
So to have to like, did you expect, because I think I fall into something where I expect that someone should just know kind of what think they should be able to read the room or like know without me saying something.
Of course.
Psychotic kind of to say that out loud.
No, it's so real. I mean, sometimes even small versions of that can come up about mundane things where it's like, even if someone knows you really well, it's like, don't you know where I want to eat dinner right now? Like,
or just like think about what you know about me and like then make that decision.
Yeah. And I think the right person is, or the right people, whatever you're,
the polys,
whatever
for the
tree.
polyamorous out there,
I know
the right polycule will know you in the way you desire to be known.
Yes.
But I think also like I'm thinking about people in that way often.
Yes.
If they're in my life. Like
that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
So I feel like everyone's operating on that same level, and many people aren't operating on that level.
But sometimes I also think that, and this is a little broad, but it's like you are the product of the love and care you've received from others. And a lot of it is from yourself too, but that's one of the most beautiful generative relationships for independent people like us. So I feel like it's almost a privilege to really know how to love someone well and to like know how to like care for someone because you've been cared for in different ways, or because you've had the resources to like shed light on the ways that you didn't receive care that you wanted. And so I feel like people should want to do it, but they shouldn't have to already know how to do it, you know? But then over time, of course, that is cultivated where like that sense of mutual like consideration and sweetness really is so important. And like you like are gonna bless someone's day by being with them or their life, you know? So you want to feel like that you're getting blessed too.
I feel like in a relationship, you want that to grow over time to where you're like more attuned to each other and more like thinking and considering each other. And at the start of the relationship, it's like you like have this period where you learn about someone or you're so excited about every facet of them. And then you feel like you've kind of maybe learned, like you've learned the baseline of everything after like a year and a half. And then it's almost like you have to find a way to implement, like you're implementing what you've learned and what they've learned, and then actually like communicate post the exciting learning period.
Yeah. And I think that's also like heteronormativity with the like marriage thing. Let's say it's like, oh, like I don't think me getting married, and it does relate, I promise, where it's like, I don't think me getting married is an achievement. I think Brian and me having the relationship we share is the gift, and having a wedding or being married was like literally our sacramental prayer of devotion to each other. And it was a very spiritual and sexy experience. And like the time leading up to that, in terms of like feeling like cleansing toward like this ceremonial moment, was so beautiful and meaningful. And like I say it like that because I think like what you're describing is so true about, you know, you acquiring information and then wanting to stay in the conversation and stay exploring and cultivating that, whether we're talking about preferences or something like way beyond. It's like a marriage isn't an end. And that is straight culture, where it's like, you did it.
It's framed
you got
as
it.
end game.
And now we hate each other, you know, ball and chain, and how'd I get stuck with this one? And it's like, what? Like, fuck no. And so when people have like, people can think whatever they want about anyone getting married or me getting married, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think people care, but it's like, it is something that can be really like utilized as the most boring and like false sense of like grounding and staticness ever. And I feel like really it's the beginning of a, you know, it's a continuation and the beginning and at the same time.
That's beautiful. I got chills when you were talking about that.
Oh yeah, I feel like I thought like this ceremony would be like, who cares? Let's have a house party, you know? But really, like we also did like a cacao ceremony by ourselves before, and just all those private moments and like literally holding hands and like non-denominational prayer of just like enjoying that, like the sacred sexuality and spirituality of our relationship. That's marriageable. It's like, I prayed with that broken leg for a sweet freak because I had that cast on, the thick, hairy leg, you know, growing underneath it. And I was still like kind of dancing in the mirror with my walker and cane. And I was like, I like overflowing with this kind of energy, and I deserve love and pleasure. And like people like, in a really large sense, like accessibility, disability, like that's something that every single one of us is going to experience in one way or another you know, inevitably in this life. And I feel like, so it goes without saying that everyone of every ability and stuff deserves love. But in my vein, LA born and bred, want to be a starlet, you know, body, I just never really believed that for myself, I guess. So, yeah, I started praying for a sweet freak, and I feel like I wanted like the sexual freedom that I would find with the randos, but in a deeply safe and loving way, you know. And shout out Brian. Yeah.
Are you Christian? When you pray, who do you pray to?
Definitely not Christian, but I do think it's funny when you and Carey get into like the different like threads of Christianity, like how he's kind of, even though you're both giving like rendered free from those upbringings, like I feel like there's some like Baptist supremacy that comes out versus the Catholic supremacy.
100%.
And I'm like, team Catholic. But
no, it's so ingrained as like growing up,
yeah.
like a girl in church being told like Catholicism is a cult, like
yeah,
it's still, and a lot of things I think from just growing up Christian are ingrained that I try to like disengage from fearing hell or fearing God's retribution, but there is something about that still scares me or resonates, or that I'm like, I know it's not real, but then there's like a part of me that's like, what if it's real?
Because you had those experiences. Yeah, I don't believe in hell. Definitely not. I actually grew up going to Catholic Mass every single day with my grandpa, who was like my best friend, very like accomplished assistant director and film guy and tanning addict. And he would get me out of kindergarten even like 10 minutes early every single day. I would not be allowed these days, so that I could go to the Veterans Hospital and go to Mass. And then that's how you know I came from a chaotic household, is like I went to Mass for fun.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to go. My parents didn't go. I mean, both of them were raised Catholic, but yeah, they weren't going. I liked it. I liked the scents and like literally frankincense or whatever.
And the ritual.
But all my cousins went to Catholic school growing up in LA, and I have like maybe 25 cousins. So it's a lot of them. Only one who is probably the only one that would listen to this, shout out Erin. She also went to public school. But then we both ended up going to Catholic colleges. But I was already like post-Nietzsche, post-modernism. Like I am like an eco-feminist. I love all religion. And then when I got older, like all through high school and early college, I was not into like Catholicism at all. I for sure know. But I love my grandpa so much. He's like an archangel saint to me. So I still hear those prayers in his voice, you know? And then I love this book that I read last year, The Way of the Rose. And it's basically about how the rosary is like a divine, feminine, naturalist like tool, and how the rosary used to be made of real roses, and how it's very like feminine, endowed spiritually. And like, to me, that's really cool, because the people who wrote this book like aren't Catholic. They'd studied with tons of like Buddhist monks and all sorts of really intense like spiritual groups that like they had no interest in being Catholic, and they're still not. But it's basically just the rosary as a portal to like relaxation and refuge, I guess. So
it's meditative.
Yes, having something in your hands, repetition. And I've always collected rosaries because I would collect them with my grandpa, because he would travel a lot shooting and stuff, so he had pretty ones. And so yeah, if I'm holding hands praying with Brian, which that's not a nightly occurrence or something, but who are we praying to?
Yeah, who are you praying to?
I think it's all one to me. God, the universe, nature, Gaia, feminine energy. For a while, even before reading that book, I would change the words. Like if I was doing Catholic prayers, I would change all the fathers to mothers, or, little tricks like that.
I love that hack.
Like just to feel more aligned, because I feel like for me, mother energy is more powerful, unless it's fallible too, but it is more powerful to me than father energy, even though
Mother energy is like the real creative energy.
Yeah. And I think creativity, like I do believe in that as like writing or communicating as spiritual practice. And like, are you kidding me? I have to pray to do my work. I have to pray to live. Like, because if you're not, for me, I think just having anxiety in general, it's like you're going to have a thought either way. It's not going to be clear brain, like whatever, those clear waves all the time or smooth waves. So I'm going to replace it with something that's like supportive to me. And those throughout time were mantras. Even today, it's been more of a less spiritual sounding mantra or affirmation. But I need to like get my own energy up through words. And I think that's like what I liked about writing since I was like really little. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't believe in hell. I don't believe in, I enjoy books and stories. So like all those sacred texts, I like the idea of sacredness.
Yeah. I
and
like
ritual.
the idea of lessons or learning why something exists in the sense that it's like a motif or a trope that repeats over time, and like you see the first instance of it in something like the Bible.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and how it informs like the wider culture.
It's literary analysis, cultural.
Reading comprehension.
But I also don't have religious trauma, so I think it's like maybe it's a little Pollyanna-ish to people what I'm saying, because I didn't.
Well, you're exploring it in like a very earnest way.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like indoctrinated and told that this is the only way.
Right.
And then you like fell in line.
So I don't think everyone needs to I don't think anyone needs to enjoy the same. I recommended the book, but like no one needs to read Way of the Rose if you hated church or whatever, But
yeah.
I think a lot more people would be into, like, spiritualism is so normalized. But then what really is the difference between spiritualism and being religious? Like, even for myself, though, you're like, are you Christian? I'm like, oh, hell no. Oh, but I grew up going to church every day, you know?
But I guess I always associate prayer with a Christian thing to do just because of the way I was raised, when it's like you can pray in any way. But I like picturing you praying all day.
Oh yeah,
multiple times a day, all day.
I mean, it's also probably OCD.
But it's also just like vocalizing it's like speaking what you want into action or into the universe. It's like manifestation is essentially like a religious practice, depending on how you look at it.
Back to the graphic tee, Mary is my homegirl. I mean, Jesus is my homeboy. Got all the love.
I know.
But Mary's my homegirl. And I also think, just similar to like the marriage and like straightness conversation, it's like the dominance and the over involvement and unearned presence of like Christianity in our like government and culture and institutions that is, to be rejected and critiqued. And like that's part of what I think is like really annoying about just religion in America. It's like there basically is one, so again, it's like things could be, I see why religion is like super triggering for people, but I need help in life. Like,
it's fun, kind of like once you take out the painful things from it, which I think is maybe what I try to do with subs, or just be like, this is ridiculous. Like,
that's what I thought was cool about that.
Let's like divorce it from bad memories of church and like whatever your familial beliefs have been that have hurt you, and then figure out where I land with everything and like what it is I really want.
Yeah. And just to like revisit texts that were informing parts of your life, let's say, like whether you wanted it to or not. It's like you're doing so in a consensual way with your fullness of self in this moment. So there's something like that feels like full of agency about that.
Out of curiosity rather than like force. Yeah,
because like you're also not in a period where you're just like desperate for salvation right now and turning to the Bible for that, which is great. Cool if that's, but you're looking at it from a different place.
Yeah. Thank you for being here with me today.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun. I love it.
I love having you. You have to come back again. You're welcome literally anytime.
My pleasure.
Can you tell everyone where they can find you? What are you up to now? I know that you're in grad school.
Babe.
Babe. That's a babe twist for the mid-30s.
It is so funny. I actually felt like going to grad school like would make people think I was a failure. but that's not true, actually.
What are you studying?
Writing, creative writing and literature. It's been really fun. It's I basically have to do it's very independently led. So I would love a more traditional program where I could just like take notes all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but it just like forces you to do your writing. So that's been really nice. But yeah, you can read my Anna Nicole Smith series on Substack if you search my name. You could follow me on Instagram. You could listen to my occasional podcast practice, Tierney Talks, especially my episode with Lara, episodes. On April 27th in LA, I'm going to do an event called LA Stories at Murmurs Gallery downtown. And so I'm gathering some writers for readings, and there's going to be a DJ on the garden patio, and the sliding scale tickets will all be going, the proceeds, to Altadena Girls for their ongoing fire relief and restoration. So
Love it.
come if you're in LA, please.
Come gather, hear some stories.
Yeah.
And then it's all for a good cause at the end of the day.
Yeah, it'll be really nice.
Let's read the cult members. Will
Oh
you
my God,
assist me in the big
yes.
shout out?
This is when people really say meta, because Gina Sapienza or something I know is coming.
First on the list.
Obviously. Where's Gina the sup lawyer? Someone.
Katie the sup lawyer.
Sorry if some of these people stop paying and they'll
always
be shout out.
I think once you're a cult member, in my mind,
Okay.
even if you're not paying, you're a cult member in my mind for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is a cult, so
you might as well choose the one that you're a part of. Yeah, this is the best one.
Yeah.
This is the best cult to be in, because it's a pretty low entry fee, and it's cool if you leave.
yeah.
I'm never gonna.
That's so
I'm
true.
never gonna threaten you.
Gina Sapienza.
Sexy, unique Gandalf,
Ro Rosengarten.
Ash Kelly,
One of the dolls.
Teddy the Schnauzer, and Tony and Mango's cult.
Alex Delisle.
Makeup Fresh,
Obviously.
Emily Vaughn,
Gina Sapienza again.
Sarah Elizabeth from Boston,
Lucy from London.
Brooke Johansson,
Lilia Farrell.
Danielle from the Bram,
Mary.
Katie Sulin,
Mike Earhart.
Matthew Thomas,
Owsley Robinson.
Kathy West,
Kit Moore.
Orlando,
Patron of the Farts.
Nick Sedaris,
Mr. Brandon.
Emily,
Kim Lucas.
Drew from Toronto,
Katie the sup lawyer.
RJ,
Modern Counseling McLean of Virginia.
and Jeffrey Pratima.
Highlight.
Thank you so much for sharing, for being here,
Thank
and
you.
for ultimately being a babe.
Love you, babe.
Bye.
Bye.